Moors, English, Spanish, Moors, teachings, academic perspective on Islam. Right. So this section says el musulmán jamás oprime o es injusto. Says that the believer or the Muslim or the Moor or the Musa never again oppresses or is unjust. We're going to find out about that. It says, Allah exaltado sea, dijo, oh mis siervos, me ha prohibido la opresión, injusticia a mí mismo y la he prohibido entre ustedes. Así que no se opriman, sean injustos unos a otros. Says that, God exalted be, said, O my servants, I have forbidden oppression and injustice to myself, and I have forbidden it amongst you to oppress one another. This is a saying by Muhammad here. All right, so let's get into it. It says, la opresión es negarle a alguien su legítimo derecho o hacer uso de algo o alguien en lo que no le corresponde. So it says oppression is to neglect somebody of their legitimacy or their legit right to do something they're not entitled to, right? Or to, essentially. Es el nombre común de todo tipo de maltrato, injusticia, falta de escrúpulos, atropello. So we're saying here that the common name of all types of maltreatment, injustice, and false scruples or false consciences and accidental hit and runs. Right? That's the name, oppression. Oppression is all that type of stuff. Según el Islam, la mayor opresión es adjudicarle el derecho de Allah a alguien fuera de él. Es decir, aceptar que hay más deidades demás de Allah. So it says, according to Islam, the greatest oppression you can do is to take away the right of Allah from somebody outside of them, and it's to say that they it's to say that they're accepting other gods except him, right? Adjudicarle socios a pesar de que él ha creado a la humanidad y le ha otorgado innumerables bendiciones, es shirk, es decir, idolatría. So, assign to him partners, even though he created humanity, is to grant him innumerable blessings. Polytheism is to say idolatry. Polytheism es abandonar a Allah y adoptar otras deidades, desarrollar sistema de creencias politeístas y luego adorar a esas deidades. So polytheism is to abandon God and adopt other deities, right? To believe in other polytheisms and to adore these deities. Esto es injusticia en su más puro expresión. It's saying that essentially to be polytheistic is an injustice, like one of the most pure expressions of an injustice, being that you don't believe in monotheism or like one sort of God. So this is me teaching Spanish about Moorish culture, right? And I'm an English teacher. It says here, además de la idolatría también es opresión negar las leyes de Alá, no aceptar el Corán y sus decretos y no creer en la profeta y la profecía y los profetas. So it says, and also in accordance with like idolatry, also, it's oppression to neglect the verses of Allah or one God, to not accept, the Quran for what it is and its decrees or its orders. So, like I always like to say, the Quran is kind of just talking about like chronological events of history. It's not necessarily just Islam. Like Islam existed before the religion as a culture and as a political system, as a way of life, right? A lot of customs and stuff like that. So when you think of this word Quran, you can always think of the chronology or the chronological order of how time has unfolded through the canon of the Moors, right? Now, we're saying here, los seres humanos. Oh, my bad. And it's also saying that to believe, it's also not accepted to like not believe in prophecy and not accepted to not believe in prophets. Los seres humanos deben evitar caer en tal situaciones y así encontrar entre los opresores contra su Señor. So saying that humans should avoid believing in those such situations, like to come up with their oppressors against their Lord. Tampoco deben oprimirse a sí mismo al privarse de la fe, right? So you should never, oppress yourself or deprive yourself of faith. Deben experimentar la felicidad, la paz y la confianza de establecer un vínculo estrecho con su Señor y no deben oh my God, arruinar su vida mundanal y su vida eterna. So you should experiment with felicity, peace, trust, and establish a bond that's really close to your Lord. And you shouldn't ruin the life, your worldly life or your eternal life, right? No, bro, I'm not wearing no turban. That's mad funny, yo. I appreciate the comments sometimes, if they're funny or positive, because sometimes I see these negative ass comments and I'm thinking to myself, these people have no idea how privileged they are to be using YouTube. It's crazy. Right? All right. So, here it says, del mismo modo, jamás deben oprimir a otras personas u otras criaturas vivientes o inertes. In the same manner, never again should we oppress other people or other creatures that are alive, whether, similar or in any way inert or small. La injusticia en las relaciones interpersonales es violar los límites de los demás, usurpar sus derechos o tratarlo injusto o despiadadamente. So injustice in relations to interpersonal, in interpersonal relations is to violate the limits of others, to usurp their rights, and to treat them unjustly, and ruthlessly. So this is definitely like not tolerated, right? And then en la religión del Islam no hay distinción entre musulmanes y no musulmanes en el contexto de la prohibición de la opresión. This is so important. Ya que a menos que esta se evite, no se podrá prevenir la injusticia en la sociedad y será inevitable que individuos poderosos pero crueles perturben la paz. So this is so important. It says, in the religion and outside of the religion of Islam, there really is no distinction of either whether Muslims or non-Muslims in the context of what is prohibited in terms of oppression, since this is avoided at the least, right? No, like sometimes you can't prevent injustices in society and they should be avoided, and sometimes they're inevitable, that individuals prosper in being powerful, cruel, and disrupt peace. Por lo tanto, un musulmán apoya a los oprimidos contra los tiranos sin importar las circunstancias. It says, although Muslims support the oppressed against tyranny without circumstances. Además, defiende el derecho y la verdad y nunca compromete la ley y la virtud. So, further defending the right and the truth and never compromising the law and virtue, right? El Islam prohíbe todo tipo de opresión, especialmente el atribuir socios a Alá, y deja claro que los tiranos no son amados ni apoyados por él y no pueden alcanzar la salvación. So it's saying that Islam prohibits all types of oppression, especially that's associated with God, and leaves it very clear that tyranny and tyrants, they're not loved and not supported by him or thee. And they cannot reach salvation, right? So there's some things in this life that are irreparable, and some people are making it as far as what I'm being able to interpret from this book is that Islam has a very heavy emphasis on the afterlife. Like your essence is not gonna be at peace. Like your spirit when you die, like your ass is gonna be like really faced with judgment. Like that's what Islam is like ultimately trying to say. Like once you die, like there is definitely another realm. That's what Islam. I think that's why Islam is kind of like forbidden in predominantly Christian and Catholic societies. To be totally honest with you, because some of these guys are warriors and they're ruthless and they really are very, very much aware of these sort of esoteric teachings and knowledges. But ultimately, this whole chapter was pretty much about like how, Muslims don't oppress unjust, or they don't do unjust, they don't oppress and they don't do things that are unjust or unjust. But obviously that's not true. Obviously, that's not true. Like, Iran just went crazy as hell. Like, today type shit. Right? And there's people all the time, like, within nations that's constantly oppressing one another, and they dress in complete Islamic garb. So, I mean, I'm ultimately just looking at this as an academic. I'm not a I'm not a religious fanatic. I'm just a teacher. I'm an English teacher, and I'm learning and teaching Spanish of and through Moorish culture, which is all encompassing of many different types of cultures, from Sri Lanka to Pakistan area to South Asia to west of South Asia to east of South Asia, talking about the Malaysian islands, the the uh, the Moro, Bangsamoro, Filipino islands, all the way to Azerbaijan, all the way to Georgia, all the way to where the Ottoman essentially like dominated the Maghreb, Mauritania, and the rest is history, literally. So yeah, essentially, I'm really trying to emphasize from an intellectual standpoint that English, Spanish, and Moorish is all an encompassing and continual sort of like culture that is deeper than just religion, right? So I hope you guys enjoy these readings, and please tap in, right? We got the moorsalight.com. That's MOORS of and then light light.com, right? So and you know go ahead, get your merch, empower. My job essentially is just to teach and empower and create a new example, aside from physical appearance, like create an entirely new example of what a moral light is supposed to be. So much gratitude. Thank you guys for logging in. I will have another Spanish for the Moors 34 coming up for you. I just gotta do a little bit more studying. So thank you so much.